I wanted to see if malted barley syrup really is the secret ingredient for bagels, and I think it is. Look at that blistered caramel-colored crust. I've never gotten that on bagels before now. I have a simpler bagel recipe using honey instead of malt syrup. That is linked in the description. If you want to get a little more involved with your bagels, stay right here. The very chewy New York-style bagels that I miss and can't buy where I live require crazy levels of gluten development. To that end, I'm starting this dough with an autolyse. 1 3/4 cups water, 415 mils, bread flour, which is high gluten flour. Water in a big bowl, and into that I'll put basically as much flour as I can easily mix in. I started with like 4 cups, which is just under 500 grams. I'm not kneading this for the purpose of developing the gluten. I'm just trying to get all the flour wet. It should take like 30 seconds. And I'm going to make this little nest in the center for reasons that will soon be clear. Hey, it already looks like one giant bagel. Cover with a wet towel or something to keep it from drying out and leave it for at least 20 minutes, but an hour is better. In that time, enzymatic things happen that basically knead the bread without you even touching it. You'll see. Okay, malt syrup. I have a video about what this is in the description. I'm just eyeballing a couple of tablespoons. You can order malt syrup online. It's a specialty baker's item, but I found this particular brand is also sold in health food stores, weirdly. I mean, it's sugar, but I bought it at Whole Foods. Hashtag not an ad. I made an effort to get a little syrup into the belly button there, to which I'll add a 1/4 cup of warm water, 60 mils, and then in goes a packet of dry yeast to bloom. 1 sachet, as the Brits would say, is just over 2 teaspoons. Anything in that neighborhood is fine. I deliberately got some syrup in the hole to feed the yeast, but not too much. There is a point where too much sugar in the solution will slow them down. And I'm going to stop speeding up the footage now. That is happening in real time right there. I love that part. It started happening after like 5 minutes. Oh, we need some salt in there, like a tablespoon of Morton Kosher for me, 15 or 20 grams. And then check this out. The gluten is already really developed in here. This is so elastic, too slippery to knead. Some more flour will help with that. It'll function as whatever the opposite of a lubricant is. I'm skeptical of a lot of the claims made about the autolyse or pre-soak method that we've just done, but one thing it does for sure is reduce the amount of hard work you have to put into kneading a very chewy bread. We're halfway there already. And for bagels, the name of the game now is to knead in as much flour as this dough will take. Whatever it will absorb, get it in there. I got in almost 2 more cups. My basic kneading technique, by the way, is really just to rock my body back and forth like I'm having a panic attack or something. Gather the dough up, lean into it with all my weight. Gather it up, lean into it with my palm. That's a lot of force exerted without much effort. Okay, see how sticky that still is? That'd be like okay for pizza dough, but it would produce bagels as flat as pancakes. Gotta jam more flour in there. For me, I actually like somewhat thinner bagels than the traditional New York-style shape. I use bagels primarily for egg sandwiches, and a thinner one is easier to eat and fewer carbs, frankly. So I'm going to stop when there's just a tiny bit of stick still left to this. If you want really tall bagels, keep kneading until it will accept not a single particle of flour more. Got to keep this from drying out while it rises, but the towel could get all gummed up on there. Ah, a dome. That should keep us safe. Oh, hey, you can see me. That's kind of creepy. I don't like being watched. But that reminds me, I can kill the next hour or two on the internet much more safely with Surfshark, the sponsor of this video. I open the app, hit connect, and Surfshark routes me through one of their thousands of encrypted servers all over the world. A virtual private network. Now my ISP can't spy on me, nor can anyone on my Wi-Fi network. And by choosing to go through Surfshark servers in certain countries, I can evade government censorship, or I can evade that thing where streaming companies won't let you watch something because you're not in a certain country, even if you paid for it. And Surfshark is way more than a VPN. You can turn on their Clean Web feature, which blocks phishing attempts and malware and ads. There's Surfshark Alert, which can let you know if any of your passwords and such have been compromised. There's Surfshark's own search tool, which has no ads or tracking. While your dough is rising, follow my link in the description, use code AdamRagusia, and you'll get 83% off Surfshark with an additional 3 months for free. Link and code in the description. Save 83%. Thank you, Surfshark. Okay, 2 hours later, my dough has just about doubled. I'm going to punch it down, which has the effect of bringing the yeast into contact with fresh sugar to ferment. And in the process of doing so, I will divide this into 3 even chunks, then divide each of those into 2, and then divide into again, and now I have a dozen dough balls for a dozen bagels. I'll form each into a reasonably smooth ball. By the way, if you want tall bagels, you could also knead some more flour into the dough now after the first rise. The flour is better hydrated now, so the dough is stickier and it might accept some more flour at this stage. But anyway, time to just let these rest for like a half an hour. Nah, not big enough. The towel will be fine. We really just need to let the gluten relax for a few minutes. That'll make the bagels easier to shape. While I'm waiting, I'm going to grease 2 sheet pans. In the past, I've had trouble with my formed raw bagels sticking to the flour or the parchment paper or whatever I put under them while they did their final rise, so this time I'm going with grease. So you can form bagels by pinching a hole in the center of the ball and then stretching it out. Today I'm doing the other method where you roll the ball out into a snake about yay long, and then you wrap the snake around your hand with the ends overlapping a little bit under your palm. And then you just roll against the counter to close the seam, to twist the ends together. Surprisingly easy and effective. Just pull it off your hand. The hole at this stage should be bigger than you want it because it's going to close up as the dough contracts a little and then it puffs up, filling up that space. Again, roll into a long snake, wrap around your hand with the ends overlapping underneath, roll to close the ends together. I'm having a little trouble getting it off my hands. You know why? I got to lay the snake over above my thumb. If I leave my thumb out of it, that is way easier to slide off. Nice. This method gets me something I used to love from the bagel shop I grew up with, where there was a thick, fluffy side to the bagel and a thinner, crispier side to the bagel. Heterogeneity. You could cook these after like a final half-hour rise, but I'm going to loosely tent these in plastic just to keep them from drying out and slow rise them in the fridge. Probably get some better flavor this way. Good night. Take them out the next day and I'll peel the plastic off while they're still cold and firm, less likely to have sticky deformations like that. While those warm up a bit, I'll get my boil water going. It occurred to me the widest pan I own is not a pan, but my big roasting tray. This will give me way more room to work, and you want to leave yourself plenty of height in the pan. When the water gets all starchy and sugary, the surface tension increases and you get big bubbles that could boil over. Get hot, people, get hot! I'll mix up a little everything bagel seasoning, which will just be 3 or 4 teaspoons of sesame seeds, a mixture of white and black if you have some black ones, it's just pretty, 2 or 3 teaspoons each of poppy seeds, dried onion flakes, dried garlic flakes, and then a couple of teaspoons of coarse salt. That should be just enough for half a dozen bagels. I'm going to leave the other 6 plain. And I'll need some egg wash, an egg beaten with just a little water to loosen it up. So barley syrup goes into the boil water too. How much? I have no idea. I'm just going to stir in enough until it looks about as brown as the water that I've seen in bagel shops. Something like that. Maybe a little bit more. Don't let it burn on the bottom there. No, I'm not going to do a spoonful of baking soda in there. Some bagel makers do that to enhance browning, but I think it just makes the bagels taste like pretzels. Arguably, they are pretzels. Pretzels are bread boiled in high pH solutions. That's a pretzel. Time to throw these in, and man, they are way easier to get off the greased trays without deforming them. Nice. We can fit half a dozen in there easy. You boil them for like a minute or 2 on each side. 90 seconds in, I'm going to start flipping. That's not going to work. Yeah, that'll do it. I have so much room to work in this roasting tray. This is so much better than doing this in a big saute pan or a Dutch oven. I don't want greasy bottoms on my finished bagels, so I'm going to lay a parchment sheet on there before I start fishing these out. I've seen bakers loop them with a stick. That looks cool, but that one broke. That shape reminds me of something. Anyway, real quick, I'll just dip the tops of each of these into the egg wash and then into the seasoning mix. If you don't eat eggs, you can just dip the wet, starchy bagel into the seasoning. It'll stick, just not as well. I know what this looks like. This looks like the engineer's ship from the Alien movies. Nice. All right, let's boil the plain bagels. Again, I'm doing like 90 seconds on each side. The longer you boil, the chewier they will be. This is, I think, the main difference between real bagels and prepackaged grocery store bagels. Those fake bagels are steamed, not boiled. boiled, which is cheaper for mass production, but it obviously gets you bagels that are really soft and doughy. These are going to be super chewy, which is what I want, and that barley syrup covering the crust is going to do magical things in the oven. In we go, 425 Fahrenheit, 220 C, convection. If you don't have a convection fan, I'd go a little hotter. After like 15 minutes, I'll rotate the pans just to make sure they bake evenly, and 10 minutes after that, I have amazing blistery brown crusts on the plain ones. The topped ones usually need a couple minutes more just because they have a little more mass on them. I do not claim to understand the science of why that maltose-filled syrup gets you a better crust than honey or other sugars. I'm just happy that it does. Other than these being a little bit thin, which I like, these taste just like the New York-style bagels that I grew up with. In the freezer they'll go, and we'll have egg sandwiches every Sunday for 6 weeks. Hooray!